So, hunger most of the time actually, directs people and make people actually do what, they can't do normal thing. So these friends happens to be the friends that, they're actually struggling to survive and all of a sudden, they have the chance to actually go, into obtaining things of people, and, you go to people's house, obtain them, this, that, that. And, they begin to sort of politicians' house, and, collecting a lot of things. So on this fateful day, they actually went to someone's house, and, on their way out, I guess the police has actually been informed that, there are actually such situations actually going on. So the police were at alert, and, it was, a lot of exchange, and, the police were able to actually, and the lady was unfortunately affected by the incident, and, the guys actually left alone with the other guys to actually, carry on. So let's see how far it's going to go for, and, what will be the, end of it.
This is CNN. More people get their news from CNN than any other news source.
All right, back to our breaking news at this hour. The urgent search and rescue operation underway right now after a cargo ship slammed into the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore overnight, collapsing it into the Patapsco River below. At least 7 people may still be in those frigid temperatures in the water. Joining me now is former U.S. Transportation Secretary Ray LaHood. Sir, thank you so much for coming on this morning as Baltimore deals with what is clearly a major disaster and potential tragedy, not knowing what's happened to at least 7 people that they are looking for. Can you give me some sense? We're getting new information just now about what happened before that major cargo ship slammed into that pylon, that the lights flickered on the ship and it veered off course. What does that tell you about how this may have occurred?
Well, this is a terrible tragedy for Baltimore and for the people who are trapped in the water. And our prayers are going out for the first responders who are trying to find them and for the families. And with respect to the cargo ship, I would assume that this is a route that's used by cargo ships on a very regular basis. And obviously something happened, whether it was mechanical or human error, will
its own position, and many Arab regimes consider it as a threat. But what happens in Gaza is not about Hamas. It went far beyond tackling Hamas. This is a genocidal war now that is
inexplicable.
Yeah, it's real.
Deal when it comes to Gaza, but it's no secret that there are also talks about what's next for Gaza, where the international community, the US, the Israelis are saying Hamas should have no say. We would like to have new entities taking over. Could this be an indication that when it comes to what's next for Gaza, the US in particular, followed by Israel, would like to make sure that the organizations which are going to look after the needs of the people should no longer be mostly affiliated with the UN, and that a new mechanism is going to be put into place.
Well, that is certainly the ambition of the far-right, the most far-right government in the history of Israel, which is why it's waging this attack on UNRWA. But I would like to make some practical suggestions. First of all, the South Africans need to take the decision to block
Are desires that flicker between a wish and intent. They are carvings waiting for the artisan's hand. One who is consumed but
Find the fastest way around. It's a steadier breeze today, so it's going to be a boat speed race. It's about accuracy of setups, driving the boat hard to finish first in front of the fans.
And you can't come to Christchurch without a traditional waka and a blessing on the course. And we are so grateful to the locals for allowing the ITF New Zealand Sail Grand Prix to take place in the sacred waters of Littleton Harbour. And there is the entire fleet right now, and we have just received confirmation of a dolphin sighting near the race course. So, in line with Sail GP protocol, we have stopped racing to allow the dolphin to pass through safely. This sanctuary contains a number of internationally vulnerable marine species, such as the Hector's dolphin. Sail GP is committed to minimizing risks to the native marine environment and has comprehensive protocols developed in conjunction with local authorities and experts to avoid contact with wildlife. Now, experienced and trained observers are tracking the mammal to ensure its safety and will communicate its whereabouts and react where needed. All involved will continue to work together in the best interests of the mammal based on where it goes today. And there is the scene down on the water right now. A mammal has been reported on course, so pretty much everything comes to a complete halt as we get everyone into position, and we will try to get back to racing as soon as possible. Give us a good opportunity to go down on the water. The fourth member of our broadcast team is none other than Olympic silver medalist Lisa Darmanin.
Todd, the wind is looking fantastic for sailing today. We are on a holding pattern. No F50s have been training yet. Wind is around 17 kilometers per hour from the east-northeast, gusting up to 26 kilometers per hour. It's super flat out here, so it'll be fantastic when we get underway. The F50s have the 24-meter all-purpose wing. They've got the light air bores and rudders to help that foiling manoeuvre. So it's going to be a fantastic day of sailing when we get underway here in Christchurch.
All right, thank you, Lisa. Emily Nagel, as we look at the course and the packed stands as the boats.
Is vanishing.
people pay me to look into the activities of its finest citizens. I'm a private detective. The name is Philip Marlowe.
Yeah, nice. Can't really day drink like this. Don't worry, a lady is never drunk. Settle in for legendary stars and the greatest movie franchises with your Mnet Sunday night movies this March.
And also, I think, reuniting.
police here, a former first responder, had heard it, actually. He said that it sounded like a very large, long rumbling, like a train going through. And he just dozed back off to sleep, and at 3 o'clock in the morning, he had gotten phone calls from police department, fire department, saying, like,
let's take you straight to Baltimore, another news conference with the authorities there. Let's listen in.
Responding to the scene. At this time, this is an active search and rescue mission. We know there were individuals on the bridge at the time of the collapse of the bridge, contractor for us. Our partners from the U.S. Coast Guard will provide some more information momentarily. In terms of traffic, drivers should avoid I-695 Southeast Corridor and use I-95 and I-895 as alternatives. I-695 is being detoured southbound at exit 43, the Peninsula Expressway, and northbound at exit 2, Route 10. Vessel traffic into and out of the Port of Baltimore is suspended until further notice, but the port is still open for truck transactions. Obviously, we're very thankful for the first responders who are carrying out their efforts in the rescues, and that they're doing this all through the night today, and we're praying obviously for everyone's safe return. We'll continue to provide updates to you. The next one being approximately 9:30. With that, I will turn it over to Lieutenant Colonel Parker from the U.S. Coast Guard.
Good morning. My name is Lieutenant Commander Aaron Palmer from Coast Guard Sector Maryland National Capital Region. I'm the current acting Chief of Response for the sector. The Coast Guard's primary mission right now is search and rescue, looking for any survivors in the water. On scene, we currently have 3 small boats. We also have Coast Guard Cutter Mako, an 87-foot patrol boat. We have a helicopter from Air Station Atlantic City, and we're working with numerous federal, state, and local partners on scene on these search and rescue efforts. Thank you.
We're going to take any questions at this time.
What role is the FBI playing in the investigation?
The FBI has basically to see if there's any terrorism connection, which there's not. They'll confirm the topics.
Any recovered from the water alive?
It's still under, still the investigation is still active. Too early in the investigation.
What is it operating the ship coming in and out of the port? Was it towards authorized time, or was it captain of the ship?
The pilots moved ships in and out of Baltimore. Pilots moved ships in and out of Baltimore. Basically, we're communicating with them. They obviously understand the situation, and we'll deal with the logistics of it here. That's all being done right now. I don't know the exact details of where they all are, but yes, obviously we'll contact them. If in any type of incident like this, the FBI would be engaged, just to make sure that's what they do. Too early investigation. Approximately 50 feet. 50 feet. That is what we're doing. We're basically searching for everyone that was potentially on the bridge. As you can imagine, it's the middle of the night. You know, what type of traffic was there? How many workers were there? Workers, they obviously come to a project, but other workers show up sometimes, so that's what we're investigating right now. Not involved. Early. I'm sorry.
Next question, please.
Right. Okay. We'll be back shortly about 9:30. I'm sorry.
All right, you were there listening to the Maryland State Transportation Secretary. He gave us one really new detail as he talks about the fact that, yes, this is still an active search and rescue mission. That is important to know. But he also says that they have confirmed that there were individuals that were working on the bridge around 1:30 in the morning when it collapsed. And so that is a new detail. There were questions about who was on the bridge at the time. They are also talking about the fact that they do believe that there are cars in the water that have been detected by sonar as well. I want to get us to Mayor Brandon Scott, the mayor of Baltimore, who is with us right now on the phone. Mayor Scott, first of all, I just want to say that I am so sorry that your community is going through this right now and that there are families wondering and worrying about their loved ones at this hour. Can you tell me so far what you know about exactly what happened here to the Francis Scott Key Bridge?
Well, listen, we have an unspeakable tragedy. We know that this vessel struck the bridge and the bridge collapsed. There were individuals working on the bridge at that time. There are cars in the water. Our fire department has confirmed that as they lead this ongoing search and rescue mission through sonar. That is where our focus is. It's about those souls and people that we're trying to find and get out of this water. We know that there's going to be questions about the bridge and traffic and the port, but right now, everyone in this world's focus should be about these souls and those families who are wondering if these people are going to walk back in the door after they walked out to work last night.
Yeah, that's a really good point. The anxiety of all this, and then plus just watching the video of what happened and how quickly the bridge failed. Can you give me some sense of what you thought at first light this morning when you saw the pictures of actually what that bridge looks like with the barge slammed into it there? What were your initial thoughts?
Well, it was something out of an action movie. It's something you never think you would see. And being here right now, looking at it, is even more surreal. And it just makes you think about, again, those families, those individuals that were on that bridge, those folks that are even on that vessel, even more, because no one should have to endure. And I'm going to be the first to ask that CNN and everyone else stop showing the video. No one needs to see a possibility of their family member being severely injured or otherwise over and over and over again, because it's just traumatizing our community.
Fair enough. Mayor, I do want to ask you about the two people who have been rescued. There are two people, one of which the police chief, James Wallace, said is in very serious condition and unable to talk about any details of what happened, trying to get medical attention. But the other person, he said, was able to walk away, incredibly, walk away from this and refuse medical services. Is there anything else you can tell us about the search and rescue? Just how many agencies are trying to get to people and how difficult it might be, what authorities are telling you who are involved in this, how difficult it might be to get down to those cars that you mentioned that are submerged right now in the river?
Listen, this is a all-hands-on-deck effort. We have our partners from Baltimore County. We had Harford County, Prince George's County, Anne Arundel County, fire departments, police department, Maryland State Police, the Department of Environment. We've been talking with our federal partners. Everybody is working together to try to, first and foremost, save souls and lives, and then we'll build up from everything else that has to happen from there. But every single agency that you can think of and imagine is here. But when you're thinking about the diving missions themselves, you're talking about water that's very cold. You can see the wind, you can see the tide, and you can see how wide of an area that we're talking about, all of which will make the search and rescue even more difficult.
Mayor, have you or anyone in your circle had any contact with the folks on this ship or with the shipping company? Has anyone heard anything from them at this hour? And I know it's early in the morning and this happened around 1:30.
Yeah. We have not, but other folks and other folks have. And our understanding is that the individuals on the vessel are all safe and healthy. But we're going to continue to do our investigation as we go through the search and rescue and how we can even get those individuals off. But of course, right now, our focus on those in the water.
All right, I just want to be clear because you said something I hadn't heard before. There was concern that there were individuals that were on the deck there as this smashed into the bridge, and you were saying that what you have learned so far is that the individuals that are on...
Yeah, that could change, obviously, yeah, but the word that we got that the individuals on the vessel were okay. Now, that, of course, can change, just like the number of folks that were on a bridge can change. Everyone has to understand how much of a fluid situation this is, but we're going to continue to provide the best information that we have.
And I just want to tell you right now, because you may not be able to see this, I know you're out on the scene, that we are looking at first light. We're looking at a very close picture of the ship, where it hit that pylon, with the bridge sort of crumbled around it. You are seeing some of the smaller boats from the Coast Guard out there searching and trying to rescue people. Can you give me a sense of what you've been seeing, where you are, and what really strikes you about all of this as you're looking at these pictures that you described look like something out of an action movie?
Yeah, listen, I can see it, so I'm not too far away. We're out. Our command center is here on the other side of the water. We can see that. I can see the boat. I've been down there looking and seeing the devastation, and it's just something that's very surreal. But for me, it just makes me think about the people, the souls, the lives, the folks that will be impacted by this for not just today, but for many, many years to come and for the rest of their lives.
We are also seeing, just as you're speaking there, Mayor, looking at this just awful picture, knowing that there are people who have their vehicles slammed into the water. We're also seeing the Coast Guard helicopter that they mentioned is out there, and how important that is to try and search and rescue. Mayor, thank you so much for taking the time this morning as this tragedy unfolds. I know this is difficult for you. I know it's difficult for the families and for the city at large. Please take care of yourself, and we will be, if you have time and you learn more information, please bring it back to us when you can. I really appreciate your time, Mayor.
Absolutely, thank you.
Our breaking coverage of the Baltimore Bridge collapse continues in just a bit. Also this hour, sources are telling CNN Sean Diddy Combs is now the target of a federal investigation into alleged human trafficking. This is connected to that raid that we all saw in his homes in LA and Miami. What we are learning about this investigation this morning.
My name is John Newford, and I'm President and CEO of the Semiconductor Industry Association based in Washington, D.C. When it comes to the technologies that semiconductors drive, such as AI, the sky is the limit. We can't even imagine the benefits this can bring. That's why we think chips are so foundational to our economic and social success. We learned that we need to have stronger, more robust supply chains around the world because we can't do it all at home. And that's where potentially the Middle East, Southeast Asia can play a bigger role in our supply chains. The WTO helps us because 80% of our customers are overseas. Our supply chains are deep, the tentacles running all around the world. We need to have global free trade so that we can secure the revenues to drive our innovation.
Today we live in an unpredictable environment and news races around the world at breakneck speed.
The mothers are not getting nutrition.
How many meals per day can you eat? My show brings you the latest news and top news makers. President Zelensky, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. Democracy will win if we fight for it.
And we also dive below the headlines to explore vital issues impacting our lives.
And that's what we are. Women, mothers, daughters, sisters are superheroes. You are a Muslim woman. And as a Muslim woman, this is not Islam.
It's crucial we make sense of what's happening. How can your country say it's lost nothing?
You can ask either the president or his spokesman.
And fully understand what's at stake.
Wait a minute. Is Ukraine failing?
No, we are not failing. We are moving forward.
We're calling this the reunion and the peacemaker.
Aman Paul, tonight on CNN.
This is CNN. More people get their news from CNN than any other news source. This is CNN.
Stay informed, stay connected, stay invested. Join me for Connect the World with Becky Anderson.
Weekdays on CNN.
Business is all about making connections. But some connections are easier to make than others. With a CNN partner hotel, the world is always at your fingertips. CNN partner hotel, connected to your world.
Getting into Port-au-Prince is in of itself a huge challenge. They're confirming with us the landing zone. It's a very dire situation. Police stations like this one here in Port-au-Prince are main targets for gangs. They feel like as soon as they can get hold of a station like this, they can then take control of much of the community. This was a school, and every single classroom that we passed has now become a dorm room. In the past 2 weeks in particular, supply lines have been severed. David Clover, CNN, Port-au-Prince, Haiti.
I'm Zain Asha, and this is CNN.
All right, these are live pictures now from Baltimore. What you see there is the Francis Scott Key Bridge, a bridge that normally carries 31,000 vehicles a day. That bridge is in the water. It collapsed overnight. It collapsed when that ship you're looking at, a huge container vessel called the Dolly, crashed into one of its pylons a little bit after 1:30 a.m. in the morning, and the entire bridge fell into the water. It is believed that there were some cars and perhaps some workers, repair workers, on the bridge at the moment it collapsed. Authorities say right now there are search and rescue operations underway for as many as 7 people who could still be in the water this morning. The water temperatures are 48 degrees, so you can imagine how urgent that search is this morning. We do have some video of the moment it collapsed. We can show you here on the wall. We're sensitive to the fact that we're showing you a moment that maybe people did fall and perhaps lost their lives, but it is important to see this moment. You can see the ship right there moving slowly, all too close to that pylon before crashing into it. All right, with us now is senior law enforcement analyst and former deputy FBI director Andrew McCabe. Andy, great to see you this morning. One of the things that everyone who was talked this morning, all the officials have made clear, is there's absolutely no indication whatsoever that this was intentional or that there was any kind of terrorism involved. Nevertheless, the FBI is on the scene. Why?
Well, there are 2 reasons, John. The first is because when you have an event like this that calls for massive response resources, all of the local law enforcement entities, federal entities, whoever's in the area, because of mutual aid agreements, will show up and contribute whatever resources they have. The FBI has an accomplished, very experienced dive team called the Underwater Search and Rescue Team, and I would expect that they are helping with this massive scene. You've got a bridge that's over a mile in length. It's, as you said, in the river. You've got that's a lot of divers, a lot of side scans, sonar equipment that they're going to use to try to locate vehicles and people and things like that. So they're probably engaged in that. And secondly, more traditionally perhaps, the FBI is probably helping make that initial determination of intentionality. They will look through all of their intelligence holdings to see if there's any chatter talking about plans or targeting about locations like this, to see if there's anything in the background that we should have been aware of and watching for. Obviously, we've heard from numerous officials that that is not the case at this point. And then finally, I think they'll likely participate in ultimate interviews of the crew in an effort to really put a final seal on how this happened. In all likelihood, we're talking about some sort of a mechanical failure or potentially human error, operator error that was involved here, but not something intentional.
No, but even if it wasn't intentional, criminal operator error or human error could ultimately lead to some kind of criminal charges, even if it was not terror-related. Perhaps the FBI could be involved there as well. Andy, I'm going to shift gears here in a major way, just so people know we're watching very closely what is happening in Baltimore, and we will be watching it all morning long. Back to it in just a few minutes. But there was major law enforcement news overnight on a different front, and that is 2 federal raids of homes owned by Sean Diddy Combs. One home in LA, one home in Miami Beach. And overnight, CNN was told by a source that Combs is a target of a federal investigation. What does that mean, to be a target of a federal investigation?
Yeah, so that is not a good place to be. So, we now know, from what we observed yesterday, it's clear that Homeland Security investigators went to a federal judge and convinced that judge that there was probable cause to believe that there was evidence of a crime, we're not sure which one, but evidence of a crime in both of Mr. Combs' residences, the one in Miami and the one in LA. And it is so enormously likely that he is, because it's 2 of his residences, he's the subject of that investigation. We've confirmed that now. Their Homeland Security investigations also, there was indications yesterday that what they're investigating might involve some sort of sex trafficking allegations. We don't know that for a fact. They've been pretty careful about not sharing too many details. But we also know, as a potentially related, maybe unrelated matter, Mr. Combs has been the subject of several civil allegations of that sort of activity over the last several months. So it's shaping up to be a very, very serious situation for Mr. Combs to be facing.
As you said, he has been the subject of some civil action and allegations over the last several months involving some kind of sex trafficking. And the fact that it was Homeland Security that was doing these raids, I guess at the direction of the Southern District of New York, but Homeland Security involved in these raids, what does that tell you? And as people saw in some of the other footage as well, fully armed, heavily prepared as they went in for these operations. Why?
Sure, so HSI, or Homeland Security Investigations, that's the primary investigative force for the Department of Homeland Security. And they derive their legal authority from DHS's responsibility around the borders, maintaining and policing our borders and transportation systems. So Homeland Security Investigations has a large investigative jurisdiction around the illegal or illicit transportation of all sorts of things: people, goods, contraband, technologies that we don't allow to be exported from the United States, things of that nature. So it fits with this idea of a sex trafficking investigation, which of course is the transportation of people for immoral purposes. So that kind of explains the Homeland Security angle. As for the large armed presence, both of these residences are very, very big. So it takes a lot of people to be able to go in there and clear that space, make sure there are no threats, things like people with guns inside, before the searchers can enter. And then secondly, any kind of a search of someone or their residence who is known to have carried a gun or been associated with a weapon in the past, as we know is the case with some prior criminal investigations of Mr. Combs, that's going to be considered an armed and dangerous situation. So that always brings out a very strong kind of security presence to make sure things don't go poorly.
Andy McCabe, great to have you on this morning on several fronts. Thank you so much. Stand by. We may have many more questions for you about the major story of the day, which of course is this bridge collapse. The Francis Scott Key Bridge, the outer bridge in Baltimore Harbor, is in the water this morning. Investigations are underway. We have much more on that coming up. Also, a huge day at the Supreme Court. In just a
Thank you.